So this is the Ready, Set, Go, and Research session. So we're going to be covering four things today. I'm going to be talking about research planning in the beginning, and then we have some of my colleagues, some other subject librarians are joining us to have a subject librarian panel. And then I'm going to give you the chance to, or have some time to create your own research plan. And then our curators from Special Collections are going to be talking about special collections and archives, and also Anna Robinson, one of the organizers, is going to be talking or showing how to find archives. But we really want you to ask lots of questions, and we left room for questions, but especially with the subject librarian panel, please don't be shy. This is your session. We want you to get something out of it. A couple of things about the rest of the day. So this session will go until 10:30. And then we'll have a 15-minute break, and then the next tech session is at 10:45, and then you're free for lunch. And then the last session is at 1:30, and please bring your folders, because that's when we will hand out the gift cards. So bring especially the voucher, and we'll do that right at the beginning of the session. And then, of course, we have our closing reception with light refreshments at 2:30. So, a fun-filled, packed day. All right. So, well, I have a question for you all first. So, when you have like a research project, either a paper or your dissertation, how do you plan it? How do you just kind of start searching and then things kind of go? Is that kind of how?
Yeah, basically.
Okay. Well, do you ever find that you are repeating things? Like you're going back to the same database or repeating searches, and so you're not necessarily being as efficient as you would want to be. So that's what research planning is about. And so I'm going to show you kind of a method that I kind of came up with. I probably stole it from someone, but I don't remember. And this is something that you definitely can adapt to your own. What happened? Oh, here we go. Okay, so, all right. So this is a poor graduate student who did not do any research planning. So let's see what's going on with him. Okay, looks like he's repeating things that he's already done. And so he needs some postmodern theory, don't we all? So he needs to get some books on it. And he's wasted half a day looking for a review of a play. He doesn't know where else to look. So what I'm going to show you is some ways of keeping track of where you've searched, what you've searched, and what to do next. And I'm also going to show you about alerts as a way of saving time, and so you don't have to go back to the same database over and over again. And like everything with research and writing, it's dynamic. This is going to be an ever-changing plan where you're going, okay, I started on this topic. No, now I'm not doing that topic. Much of what the faculty talked about yesterday. So the first thing you need to do is you have your dissertation proposal, or you have your idea of your research project. So you need to think about what you need. And what I do is break it down by, okay, what primary works or sources are you looking at? Secondary literature needs. Maybe you need some background materials, schools of thought, theory. So this is if I were doing a dissertation, this is what I would be doing my dissertation on. So I'm looking at these 3 graphic novels, Mouse, Safe Area Grozny, and Epileptic. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at it through the lens of trauma theory. And so I'm going to be dealing with comics or graphic novels. And I'm also going to look at the reception of the graphic novels in newspapers and journals. So it kind of gives me an idea, pulling this stuff out, what I need. So this is my research plan matrix, and like I said, you can adapt this your own style. You may do something like kind of a mind mapping thing with arrows and so forth, but I'm more linear. I'm more like, I like matrices. So here are my primary works that I'm dealing with. And so I've already gone into the catalog. I've gotten some of them. I requested some of them from Interlibrary Loan. So this is also a way of keeping track of where things are and what you need to do next. I'm going to go to get secondary literature on Mouse and the catalog, and then go into WorldCat. I need to get some background information on trauma theory, actually found, and a really good article in Oxford Reference Online, and it has references to core texts on trauma theory. And I've put this article in my project folder. And another thing that the plan can do is it can keep, you can identify how you search something. So I looked for trauma and graphic novels from MLA, and I did trauma, asterisk, and graphic novels. Does anyone know what the asterisk means? What? That's how, those are my search terms. Yes, Claire?
It opens a search up to combinations that include the term for aspects, right?
Right. So it would include traumatic as example. Trauma, traumatic. And same thing here. So here I know I've searched under these terms. I found 10 articles. I put them in Zotero. And I still need to go back and search under trauma and comic, which will bring up comics, as well as the asterisk. You know, one thing about if you're doing graphic novels is, like most things in the humanities, it's not black and white whether it's a graphic novel or it's comics. So you need to, if you're doing that, that's just FYI. Here's some other things, trauma theory and literature. And you may not be able to fill out your matrix completely. You may not know where to go for things. And this is where your subject librarian can be a really great assistance. So I'm looking for reviews in these French newspapers. I don't know where to go. So I'm going to ask Daria, our Romance Languages and Literatures librarian, and she definitely will know where to go. So that's kind of my way of doing the research plan. And like I said, is you can, if it's easier for you, you could do something like this. If you're doing, let's see, trauma and graphic novels, I'm gonna do an asterisk, and let's say, okay, so I did MLA, that's done. You need to do academic search Premier. So you can also adapt, like do a research plan that way if you're more, I don't know, more mind mapping with arrows and stuff like that. Any questions about that? Okay, so I'm gonna move on to alerts. Has anyone ever set up an alert with a database or the catalog?
For like specific journals?
For specific
I get
journals
emails from
or
the-
searches?
No.
Okay. Well, alerts, I'd highly recommend that you do this, especially when you're at the dissertation point, because then you don't have to go back and repeat the searches. And most of our databases allow for this option. It's slightly different, and we have a guide I'll show you on how to do it. But for most of them, you can do your search. So I did my search for graphic novel and trauma. And then to create an alert, what you do is you click on share, and you see create an email, create an alert, and you can have it sent by email or RSS feed. No one really uses RSS feed anymore, at least not that I'm aware of. And most of the databases you have to go in and create an account in it, but then you can manage it. You can also say how many, like if you want the alert once a month, once a week. What I would suggest though is that you do your search, your alerts very broad. So you know, I don't have anything about the novels that I'm dealing with here. This is pretty broad. I might even want to do trauma and literature or trauma and visual culture, because you can always, if you're getting too much stuff, you can always turn it off or reconfigure it. And we can also do alerts in the WashU catalog. Here they're called preferred searches, and here are the steps. You go into your My Catalog. That's where you check to see what you've checked out or what you need to renew. And then you follow these steps. And then you just mark it as a preferred search, and you just mark it that, that you want an email alert. And then any time that a item fitting those criteria are added to the catalog, you'll get an alert. So it's a really good way of keeping up on literature. And I also recommend that you do it in your area. So if you are focusing on 19th century German literature, I mean, you're focusing on specific authors for your dissertation, but that's kind of your area. I would do one for that as well, especially, and be very broad in the catalog, because you want to know, okay, is there a new seminal work coming out on German literature in that period? And again, you can turn these off if you're getting too many things. And we're going to go in later, and I'm actually going to have you create an alert. But one database I think you all should use if you haven't is ProQuest Dissertations and Theses. Why I say that is because for many of you, someone has written a dissertation, maybe not exactly on your topic, but related to your topic, and you can use those as, you know, you can see their literature review, you can see the structure of their dissertation, you can use the bibliographies, and this is a database. Now, for most of these, we don't have immediate access to the whole dissertation. But for many of them, like here, you see preview PDF. You can get a 24-page preview of the dissertation, so it'll be the first 24 pages. And if you think, well, this is right on, I really want to look at this dissertation, then you can request it through Get-It, and then our interlibrary loan folks will get it. But I would definitely look at this. Have you guys used this database before? Anyone? Okay. Yeah. It's very useful. It's also a good way just to know what people are doing research on in your area. And we're going to be talking about this a little bit with the panel, but is that actually not? Okay. These are the options for the ways that you can discover what databases we have available. You can go, I would definitely recommend going to the research guides. All the subject librarians have research guides where they have selected specific databases that fit that subject. Because we have like 2,000 databases. So you don't want to have to figure out which ones do I want and for what. Subject librarians. We can save a lot of time. If you're struggling with trying to figure out where do I go for something, you send out a quick email, you come to our office hours, and we can say, you need to go to ABC. So if you're filling out that matrix and you're like, well, where do I go? You can, the subject librarians will really help out with that. Okay. You're in good company. So for research planning, places to go for assistance, you use subject librarians, dissertation advisor, and I'm going to show you this guide, which will go through details on how to create an alert. It's going to open. So this is a guide that we created, and it will give you specific steps on how to create an alert, and the catalog, databases. There's even little videos, which of course it's not showing right now because our flash is out of date on this computer, but it does work. It worked on my computer yesterday. So it's very easy, and subject librarians can assist you with creating alerts as well. Any questions about that? Okay, so what I thought is that we could go into ProQuest and you can create an alert right now. So where is okay. So if you go to libguides.worcester.edu, Good Company 2, right here. And then what we're going to do is look at the dissertation and theses ProQuest database. Just click on that. And so you should get to a screen like this. So to create an alert, it's very easy. So I'm going to do my graphic novel. Okay, and you'll see at this is the top one. This is actually, I more or less stole the dissertation proposal from this actual dissertation. I forgot that, yeah. But I'm not writing a dissertation, so it's okay. So to create an alert, you just click Create Alert, and then it's going to give you these options. And to manage your alerts, they'll want you to create an account in the ProQuest database interface, and you can do that in My Research. But you can also just create an alert without having to create that. You just won't be able to manage it. So I'm just going to call it graphic novel. And then again, you can down here, you can decide whether you want daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly. I'm going to do mine daily. And you can also specify when you want it to end. Okay, so I'm going to get this now every day. So when something meets those keywords, graphic novel and trauma, I will get an alert. Questions about that? Okay.
Shall we set up the panel?
Yeah.
Okay, so everyone, does anyone want to use the projector
other part?
I
Yeah?
here.
Okay. I would like to invite the subject librarians who are participating with the panel to come up.
I am, but
Appreciate
I'm just kind
everyone
of the default.
being involved.
Mine is the default.
Yeah, I was thinking. I'm gonna go to Q&A. Alright, right now it looks like that.
You can tell we're really prepared for this.
Just wait,
Maybe
happen
we
to get a
should-
bunch of introverts.
Maybe we should introduce.
Yes.
Okay.
Alright, so, let me close it together. Okay, so here we have a number of subject librarians who were chosen specifically because they have interests that overlap with participants' interests. If everyone could maybe introduce themselves, and then we can talk about the work that, the research that you help with, that you support.
So just a quick intro right now.
A quick introduction,
Okay,
yes.
my name is Christine Heldling, and I'm the subject librarian for the English department.
My name is Daria Carson-Dusan. I'm subject librarian for Romance Languages and Literatures, Latin American Studies, and Linguistics. Rena Vecchiola, subject librarian for Art and Architecture.
Brian Petruba, subject librarian for Germanic Languages and Literatures, Comparative Literature, European Studies.
Brad Short, I'm the subject librarian for music, theater, and dance, and film.
And I'm Marty Kavanaugh. I'm subject librarian for European History and Religious Studies.
All right, so I'd like to open the panel with a question, and then open it up for everyone else to also ask questions. So the first question for all of you is, what should somebody planning to do a dissertation in your area know about before they even start? Marty, could you start?
Well, I think I should go last because I have no one in the history department here.
Well, I think everyone's doing something with history.
Okay. Well, that's a good lead-in. Yeah. So I was asked to say what one thing that everyone should know about history. Well, we're using history, doing history research.
Yes.
Yeah. So when I first thought of that question, I thought there's no way I can answer that. But I have a button that I keep in my drawer since I rarely wear buttons, which I picked up at a library conference many years ago from a history publisher probably. It says, "History is everything." And really, any study, I think any study of human activity, is going to involve some sort of historical research at some level. So I would say the one thing that I would maybe say is sort of cross-disciplinary to anyone doing a topic, especially in the humanities, is that you're probably going to be at some point encountering names of individuals that are obscure, you don't know anything about. And we have a great resource called the World Biographical Information System, WBIS for short. And I don't know if you've talked about the A to Z database list, but obviously it's on the W page of the A to Z database list. And if we had some time, we could maybe show that.
Thank you.
But pass it to Brad.
Robert Stewart. So the first thing that you need to know if you're doing anything in music is that there's a separate music library, and that hopefully that you'll come over and see us. Or if your dissertation takes you in that direction, please come on over. All of the materials are located in the branch library on the other side of Forsyth. So there are a number of other branch libraries throughout the system, of course. Business, chemistry, earth and planetary, art and architecture, and East Asian. So if you haven't found the other libraries around, of course, there's physics and social work and medical and law libraries as well. So if you haven't found the other libraries, do take some time to explore and see what's out there. I guess the big thing that I would encourage you all, especially as your dissertation maybe moves from one direction to another, is get to know your subject librarians. And chances are you'll work with more than one. Like when Brian was giving his example of his dissertation proposal was taking him into a direction where he needed to lean on the French librarian. So he would have found Daria at some point in his search. So don't think of yourself. I like the title that Brian has for the workshop that you're not alone. Is that don't feel like you have to reinvent everything. So especially when your dissertation starts to expand a little bit, reach out for folks to help you. And, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised.
Am I next?
Yes.
Okay. The number one resource I would suggest that everyone know about, and maybe you all do already, is HathiTrust. And HathiTrust is, it's like Google Books, but it's a lot easier to use than trying to find things on Google with Google Play and whatnot. It has over 5 million volumes are available in the public domain, which means you can view them full text, and you can also download them. And there's a number of ways to get to HathiTrust, and I'm going to actually spell it out. So Hathi is the Hindi word for elephant. So, but one real takes a couple clicks, but if you go to eJournals and eBooks, more eJournals and eBooks, and here there's a search box right there for HathiTrust. It's that little orange elephant. And you can do your search right there. It's really easy. It has, like I said, it has over 5 million volumes that are available full text. So one thing to keep in mind is public domain. Most of these things are available because they're in the public domain, which means anything published before 1923. Although I should say that recently they've been made agreements with a number of publishers for back files of things that are in copyright. So it does include some things beyond 1923 which are available full text. And any of us can answer questions about HathiTrust.
So I wanted to mention, because a lot of areas you might be looking for visual materials, images, and we have a research guide for finding and using images. And go to the research guides page and you can just put images in and it should come up.
Should I pull it up? Or-
Sure.
Okay. You can keep talking.
Okay, and so it has the key sort of interdisciplinary databases you can use, and one of the main ones I wanted to point out was ArtStore, and it has almost 2 million images, and it also holds our institutional collections, so it has images from our special collections and our Visual Resources Center. And I don't know if maybe you don't all know about the Visual Resources Center. It's right next door to the Art and Architecture Library, and it's under Arts and Sciences, and there are 2 full-time staff there, and they can also answer any questions about image management or pulling together presentations with images. And I had a question yesterday about image management, your own images. And so I wanted to mention that
I looked in ArtStore, and you would need to get set up with the instructor privileges, but you can contact me or Jenny Akins. And ArtStore does have a feature, if you have instructor privileges, that you can manage your personal collections of images alongside all the institutional collections of images. You can upload up to 1,000 MB, and you can describe them, and then you can put together groups with your images and the images, in special collections, and the images from visual resources. So I think that's a nice thing if you're working with images, and even if you're not working with a lot, but you have a few that you want to manage somewhere. So so you just need to create a login for ArtStore, and then you can request instructor privileges just contacting me or Jenny or Betha Whitlow in the Visual Resources Center.
I want to know, has anyone ever gotten a rejection email from Interlibrary Loan where they weren't able to find your source? My international people, yes, yeah. All right, so I joke that I kind of work part-time for Interlibrary Loan because I'm often emailed from my Latin American studies people, in some cases Spanish literature, that they're not able to find the source because many times libraries in Latin America haven't loaded their holdings up into WorldCat, so it's not easy for us to Interlibrary Loan things. So we are members. One thing I wanted to leave you with is we are members of Center for Research Libraries, which has many holdings in WorldCat, but not so much their periodical databases. So this is just one case. If your Interlibrary Loan gets rejected, do contact your subject librarian. We may know other ways to find it, or we'll just dig a little bit more and confirm that it's not possible. But I guess the resource I'd want to leave you with is Center for Research Libraries. It's in Chicago. We're members at WashU, and they have lots of periodical holdings, lots of newspaper holdings, all sorts of things that we can get to. Yeah, if we have time, I can highlight some ways to search it.
All right, this question was deceptively simple. What do people beginning their dissertations need to know? And I really have thought about this long and hard, and so there's so much, but I'm gonna zero in on two things. One is a tip, and one is a source, which may be of interest to a lot of you. I'll do the source first. So there is on the A to Z list, under A, is a source called Archive Finder. And so imagine, if you were looking for the correspondence of Tennessee Williams, and it could be in different places because correspondence goes back and forth. So you can use this source to look that up and see the different places where things like that are held. So I didn't know about that until, the past couple years, and sometimes I just go and look at it for fun to see where people's things are. And that's true. Okay, and then my tip, and it seems so basic, but so many of the questions that people come to me with are focused on this very tip. They say, I'm looking in this source and I can't find whatever. And the reason they can't find whatever is because they're not searching that thing the way the thing wants to be searched. And so it's time well spent to maybe take a look at the help file, or if you don't feel like reading the help file, because that can be a little bit overwhelming because it goes on and really gives you probably more help than you can stomach at one point. But take a minute and just orient yourself to the interface, the search interface, and look at all the possible limiters that are there for you. The limiters will filter out a lot of the things that you don't want. So it's possible in the historical newspaper databases to filter just to advertisements. So it's a real time saver, but you have to scroll down a little bit to find these things. And it's not like you can say, oh yeah, I know what the limiters are in this particular database, and I know the way they're always set up, because depending on what the source is, there's going to be different limiters in different places. But those are the tricks. That's, I think, the one trick that can really save you a lot of time and help you be a very smart searcher.
Thank you.
Alright, so I'd like to open it up for questions, and if we have extra time, perhaps you could show us more about CRL.
Or Marty can show me
Okay, yeah. So does anyone have any questions they'd like to ask?
Anything that you've been like searching for and you haven't been able to find? This is like, think of this as like Stump the Librarian.
I got a question, actually. I know, we asked you for a question, but I find that often we get so used to living in one database, we stay there and we stay there and we stay there and we don't go past JSTOR. When you go out of your comfort zone of databases and find another one, how often do you discover like a new resource?
Can I show something?
Okay.
Well, this actually has to do with doing the research plan. So we go back to our conference page and so down here at the box, so there's like interdisciplinary databases like JSTOR, Google Scholar. Then we have subject-specific ones. This isn't all of them, but some of them. And here, this is this kind of goes into what we were talking about, the A to Z list of all the databases. And you can go databases by subject, and let's say I'm interested in film and media studies. So you can click go. And first it will show on the left there the guides. But if you click on databases, so these are all the film databases, and you can read the descriptions. And the best bet ones are like the ones that Brad has given your seal of approval on. So that's really helpful. And the other thing is there's also in this A to Z list, you can also specify primary source databases. And so here's some of the main ones, but you can also just click on this and you'll see in the middle there in blue, it's selected primary sources. So we have 164 databases. But yeah, I think what Darius says about thinking that everything is in one database, that is also not good. Not recommended, at least.
I got a quick follow-up to that. The very term database is so
Yes.
imprecise. And even though, you know maybe what you mean when you say it, but think, a lot of you will be, TAs or teaching writing one students. They don't really necessarily know. I mean, and maybe you're not quite sure what the term databases mean, what it encompasses. Because I think a lot of us use it as shorthand for articles, right? You need to go to JSTOR, the JSTOR database, and find some articles. But it's a bad shorthand term that we use because it is very inaccurate. And you can see it because it could be, well, a collection of historical newspapers, a collection of oral history, audio clips. So I would just kind of think about the way you use that term, and I've tried to be more conscious of it myself. But then, you were also teaching the next people who will be writing dissertations at some point. So just think about ways you can be more precise with that term.
Yes, question.
So I recall a few years ago, there was this feature called iBit. And when I searched a couple years ago but didn't find it for a specific article or something like that, it would search all of the databases and return back results. And then at some point I rechecked it and find it a year and a half ago, and it stopped doing that. So I'm wondering if there's something I'm doing wrong.
Did you like it? Did you like what happened when you used this the first time?
Yes, I liked
Okay.
when it returned what I typed into. I mean, you know, I knew that there, like now, like I would use Find It if I know that there's an article out there, and I'm just sort of looking to get it quickly within the library system as opposed to having to go to the journal and then the issue and the number. And so I would use it all the time. You know, I know this article exists, and I plug it in there, and it would come back results. And now it keeps asking me to find, you know, what database do you want to use, and I don't know. I'm looking for it to find it. So what happened? Or
Why are you looking at me?
Which is one of your students? English.
I don't know where you begin, exactly how it happened. That still does exist.
Change the search box.
And
Yeah.
you can go back to the homepage here. Okay, so, yeah, things are in a slightly different spot, but
So you go here, right?
this
no,
will,
I go into something called Find It. And there's some search tool.
oh, here, go back.
Well, we're,
Choose this. If you search here, it's searching like a little set of databases. So you could do a search, and it's searching. I think they're searching 5 things. It's searching academic, search complete, JSTOR, and a couple other things. I'm not sure. But if you look here, did you ever do this and choose a different category? You know, you can choose like a different category like that. Or you can also limit to a certain subject, and this is maybe what you did. Can you? I'm sorry. No, it's
It's
point to.
like
Can you put?
it's like this specific weird.
Does it look like this?
Yes.
Okay. So,
This one.
Yeah.
Yeah, a couple of years, well, I don't know when we did that, but someone had the bright idea of changing the search box. And so everything is still there, it just looks totally different. And so we still have the product called Find It, it's still there. Back before they changed that search box, it was more blatantly labeled Find It.
Here it is.
But it's still called, we're still using the term Find It, it's just they buried that terminology down a little bit into the
But now when I
website.
search from that main, it doesn't return the same things it used to.
Possibly because they changed the group of databases that were sort of the default
Right now.
search
it makes-
databases.
Yeah, it makes me decide, and I don't know.
well, you can if you go to articles by subject, and then because you're in English, right? Yeah. So and then if you select either American literature, English literature.
You can search all, you can
Which-
check. While it was searching many databases, it certainly can't search all of them. And things with a little checkbox it can search, but it won't always search them all. It just doesn't work that way. Not all of them can be searched and find it.
And one thing that you need to be aware of with like tools like Find It that search more than one database, they're not going to be precise because each database it's proprietary. So you have ProQuest, you have EBSCO, and they have different search criteria. And some of the databases, like with Find It, you can't specify peer reviewed.
The one thing though that I heard from you is that you know the article exists, so you just plug it in.
Right.
So there is a citation linker that they provided a link to. So I know that, just, let's see,
It's-
where's that one?
That's right.
There we go. So it's right, I mean, that would be one way of going at it faster since you're searching. The other thing about Find It is the search results that come up to you first. If many times our freshmen will just do a general topic search, and the results that come up first aren't always the most precise and best, but the ones that come up the fastest. So that's one default of it. Whether that's good or bad is up to the user.
And in about 6 months, it's going to change to something called Primo, which is similar to Find It, just a different, they'll have a different look.
Yeah, and you can search Primo now, but because it's all this has to do with vendors and their agreements, because there's different companies and they don't always work well together. They don't always cooperate. And so one thing, Primo will search the catalog. It will search Hockey Trust. It will search some of our databases. But one thing for you all, since you're in the humanities, is it doesn't necessarily search all of the MLA. Because it comes from a different company. So, but Primo's gonna kind of replace Find It to some degree.
But the short answer to your question is, yes, you can still do what you want to do, and we'll find you the route to get to that, if you still want to.
To find it, yeah.
Yeah.
Or the citation linker page.
Well, it seems like,
The citation linker, you don't need to fill out all the fields also. Don't be intimidated by it asking 20 things.
Alright, well, now would be a good time to move on to
The-
special
Or the creating the well, maybe
should we do the special collections?
yeah. Well, I will. You guys can do this on your own. If I can just. This is just more or less the matrix that I showed you before. And if we go back to that guide, ready, set, go, and research, is I would just use these boxes, and again, this doesn't have all the databases, but you can go on databases by subject and looking for primary databases or primary source databases, all databases, catalogs, and the purpose of this is just to get you thinking and planning, and so you're not like repeating searches and going back and not finding it. And then if you have things that you don't know where to go, or you're having issues with searching, this is where you should contact a subject librarian. And another thing is, has anyone ever chatted with either a librarian or a library staff person? Okay, yeah, so that's another thing that you can do. And at the top of the library homepage is Ask Us, and that's how you can get into chat. And librarians monitor the chat, so we are there, and often we will be there in the evening, and no one will chat with us. So don't be shy. And if it's a question where we have to deal, it's more long term or something, we can email you. We can set up an appointment.